What's going on, guys? It's Fear Turbo here. Today we're going to talk about my Stamina Nightblade build, Honor, for the Clockwork City patch. This build is going to be focused around 12-minute content such as trials, and can be used in 4-minute content such as dungeons, but not tailored for Dragonstar Arena or Maelstrom Arena. So let's get right into the stats. You can see already we have almost 17k health, 37k stam. We actually have some stamina regen here, guys. I'll get into that in a second. We have 3,742 weapon damage, 54% crit, and 2k physical penetration on buff. So if we just look at our stats real quick with the potion, 4,366 and 64%. As a Nightblade, we get crit when we crit, so we'll gain 3% more crit. And if we look at our weapon damage fully buffed, we have 4,999, and if we actually crit, we have 67% crit. So that's some pretty good stats before we get into raid setting. Also, one thing to note is when you use a shadow ability, you gain major resistances for a short duration. So if we take a look here, we have 14k spell resistance and 11k physical. Once we use a shadow ability, we gain some resistances. So we're pretty tanky as a Nightblade, which is something that people don't usually say about Nightblades. So also, we're using the Warrior Mundus before I forget, and max health, max stam food, and weapon power potions. This is going to be giving us our major weapon damage and crit buffs, and it's important to have our alchemy passives, which is going to be it's going to make us keep our potion buffs up 100% of the time. Let's get straight into the gear here. We're using 5 Hunting's Rage, 3 on the body, Divine Stamina, and then 2 daggers. I'll get into those traits in a second. Our second 5-piece is War Machine. Now, I'm using a stamina recovery glyph on one of the jewelry pieces. And the reason for this is because light attacks and heavy attacks, they vary in damage. Like light weaving, you can get your skills out, and light attacks do a massive amount of damage for the time that you spend doing them. And light attacks, again, are going to be very fast, proc our bow procs from Relentless Focus. So like light attacks are really good on the Nightblade. They hit really hard, they do a lot of damage. The only thing is we don't get resources back. Like heavy attacks, we gain resources back. So on the Nightblade, we want to do light attacks. To do that, we need some recovery somewhere. We got to find the push and pull effect, right? So we're going to put 1 recovery on, and we're going to be using Leeching Strikes. So 1 recovery plus Leeching Strikes is going to be enough to sustain. Obviously, if you run into a little stam issue, throw a heavy attack out there. It's no problem. So we still have that option in as well. So we're going to be using 5 War Machines, so 3 jewelry, and 2 on the body. The reason for that is because we want to get Major Slayer on our back bar as well. So when we use an ultimate, we gain Major Slayer, which is going to give us 15% extra damage while using an ultimate. Plus, this ultimate gives us 20% extra damage for 6 seconds. So we're getting a huge window of extra damage when we use Incap. Now, some fights you can use Incap on the front bar, even though it didn't work there. You can Incap on the front bar and Ballista on the back bar. So you can use Ballista on a certain fights, like in Veteran Halls of Fabrication on the last boss. I use Ballista and Incap just like this. I use Ballista at the start, and then I spam Incaps. And then when we're fighting the mobs, the extra adds in the fight, I start building up my ultimate. And then I come back to the boss since he's invulnerable. Once he stands up, I use Ballista again, and I spam Incaps. So I'm getting the best out of both worlds through damage and just Major Slayer. Whereas on other fights, I'll use Flawless Dawnbreaker in the front bar for the extra weapon damage, and then Incap on the back bar for the Major Slayer uptime procs. And Incap is giving me a lot of extra damage. Another thing to note, a lot of people are going to ask me is, can I use the standard Flawless on the front bar, Vicious Ophidian instead of War Machine, and then Ballista on the back bar? Yes, you can. You'll probably see a little bit more self DPS, but the thing is, I'm gaining Major Slayer for 2 other teammates, right? That's what War Machine does. I'm gaining Major Slayer for myself and 2 other teammates, which is important because I can get, let's say I do 50k with this setup, I could probably do 51, 52k for with if I used Vicious Ophidian, which would be a better 5-piece than War Machine, and then if I use Ballista, which would be getting me some extra damage, and then I'd use Incap on the front bar. That's good, but like I can give Major Slayer to 2 other teammates and they can do more damage themselves. So I think the Major Slayer setup is much better, and that's why I prefer it, and that's why it's going to be in this build. So get at me. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, we're going to be breaking our 5-piece up, which is not a big deal. The reason why we have Nirnhone, right? You already noticed this. Nirnhone on the front bar is because it gives us 200 weapon damage in our main hand for all of our abilities. Before we had Infused, which only affected the poison weapon enchant. And so now we're going to gain extra weapon damage, which is really nice. Infuse on our offhand, important to have because it's going to make our enchants proc the same amount of times before. Like last patch we had Infused main hand. Infused offhand is still going to affect the poison weapon enchant to hit as many times as it did when the Infused was on this hand. Sorry if that's a little confusing. Anyway, it's good to have Infused offhand. Again, it increases our potency of our enchant, which is Berserker, so that's also nice as well. We get some extra weapon damage there. Back bar, we're going to use Maelstrom Bow with the poisons. You can use Nirnhone, Precise, Sharpen, doesn't matter. You want to have Nirnhone or Precise if you're reaching pen cap within your group, but if you're not, then you can go ahead and use Sharpen. You'll see some better DPS that way. Damage, health, poisons adds a little dot. Procs 20% of the time on light attacks, heavy attacks, and weapon abilities. So basically, when we use Hail, which procs every 0.5 seconds, it has 20% chance every 0.5 seconds to proc poisons. And usually procs it often. Come on. Just like the worst. Oh, I don't have my poisons on my bar. What happened? Who did that? Alright, anyway. I'll show you in a second after I get a combat. Did I take him off? I don't remember that. Go on now. I wonder if I ever had him there. Alright. Usually it procs right off the bat. 20% chance, right? See, they already procced. And I haven't even done anything else. So Hail is a pretty big contributor to your poison up times at the back bar. That's why you'll see when I come to the back bar, I do Trap and then Hail, Caltrops, and then Light Attack, and then look, they've already procced. Like, so they're pretty much every time. They're up every time you go to the back bar, which is really, really nice. So we went over the gear. Again, there'll be a link in the description to a video of testing of the Dagger traits. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to go to my website and write a comment. You can write a comment on this YouTube video, on the forums, or you can join my Discord and write a comment there. Yep, so let's get into the skills here. I'm just going to go over these really quickly. All this information is, again, on my website. We have Rending Slashes, Killer's Blade, which is awesome. Deadly Cloak is our damage mitigation for stam users. Our Spammable is Surprise Attack. And then we have Relentless Focus here, which is a very unique, very hard skill to kind of master here. Also, while we're talking about this, if we look at our stamina recovery, right? I want to show you guys something. 1,126 from one enchant, right? Plus I'm a red guard, plus CP. So that's, we're gaining, let's just take it off, right? So we have, look how much we have. It's giving us so much regen. We have 848. We put 169 regen on, and we gain so much regen from just one little regen enchant, right? Not to mention when we use our potions, let's take a look. We gain major endurance, which increases that regen even more. So we'll take a potion here. 1,263. Well, this gives us minor endurance, increasing it by 10% even more when we use this skill. 1,331. That's why we can sustain, because 169 regen enchant is going so far for us on the Nightblade. It's insane. Not to mention we have 15% extra regen for stamina right here in the passive. So that's why the Stam Nightblade can sustain such a thing. Anyway, I thought that was really cool. I liked how far it went. Sorry, I get excited. Anyway, Flawless Dawnbreaker, 5% weapon damage while slotted. Again, we have another 3% for the Slayer passive, so we get 8% from this. Backbar, Injection, Hail, Trap, Caltrops. These are the big damage hitters for us. Ramming Trap is going to give us minor force, which is really nice. And then Leeching Strikes. Basically, what this ability does is when we use it, right, you'll see that timer on the right side of my screen. When it's up, it's going to give us more resources back. So it cost 857 stam, and we're going to get 4,270 stam back at the end. So if we take a look here. Let's see if I can spend enough stam. Right, it's about to go off. Look at our stam bar. Whoop. So we get that stam back. Again, you can actually click it before the time's done and get stam back immediately if you're in a bind here. So say I need stam now, I can click it and it'll activate and give me stam back, which is really nice. Also, again, we gain a little bit of stam, 106 for each light or heavy attack. Also, it has a nice heal, which is pretty cool. And then we're using end cap on our back bar. Another little trick here I'm gonna talk to you guys about is end cap and potion. So basically, every time we drink a potion on the Nightblade, we get 20 ultimate back. This is important to know because end cap only costs 70 ult. And so 20 ultimate is a lot of ult. So if we use the end cap here and then we use the potion, look, I'm already at 30 out of 70, and the end cap isn't even done. Like, I still have Major Slayer on my hands. You see it? Boom, it just went off and I'm at 50 ultimate out of 70. See how quick that is? So I'm gaining, my Major Slayer uptime is extremely high if I utilize the potion after the ultimate. So it's that's why Nightblade is much harder than all these other classes, because they have skills like Relentless Focus where you do 5 light attacks and then you shoot a bow, right? Well, remember, I gain damage, 20% extra damage when I use end cap, and I gain Major Slayer when I use end cap, so I gain 15% and 20%. So to keep in mind, I'm telling you right now, this Relentless Bow proc, tooltip is 23k. When I proc this sucker, it's hitting for like 50k in raid. So it's good. It's basically like an execute before you ever hit execute phase, and that's what's so cool about it. So what I'm suggesting is when you have one of these bow procs up, be conscious, be aware of your ultimate, and then you can use your end cap and then shoot it, and it's going to hit even harder. So there's these little tips and tricks that like you're going to see when I do my rotation, when we talk about my rotation, and then when you watch the DPS part, you're going to see that I go to my back part, use my end cap whenever it's up, and then shoot my bow ulti. I'm sorry, then shoot my bow skill, and then take a potion, like, or take a, no, I'm going to take a potion after I've used an ult. I'll hold my potion, is what I'm saying. And then I'll save my bow proc. Say I'm really close, like this. Say I have 5 light attacks. Oh, sorry. And then I have an ult up. I know my next light attack, I'm going to come back here and then shoot this bow, and then it's going to hit even harder, etc. Just like that. And then I'm going to save my potion for like, let's just keep going. I'll show you something real quick. Alright, so let's see. Look, I have almost 70 ultimate. My potion's about to come up. I have ult now. I'm going back. Shoot this. Just like that. Gonna use my potion, then look, I'm just gonna keep going. Just like that. So, these little tips and tricks, like, it's hard. The Nightblade has a huge ceiling for how good you can be at a Nightblade. And let me tell you, I'm not even close. Not even close. It takes a lot of practice. So guys, sorry if this was a little bit long. Sometimes I get a little excited about these things. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me again on my website at fearturbo.com, on my YouTube, forums, You can join my Discord. Link will be in the description. Guys, have a good day. We'll get into the rotation part. I know it's a little crazy, but bear with me, guys. Have a good day. What's going on, guys? We're here to talk about rotation, and the Nightblade is the one boy that you just don't know what to do with. He has tons of shit going on. Relentless Focus, Leeching Strikes, the bow procs from Relentless Focus. Do I need a Killer's Blade? Or do I need to keep raining slashes up while I'm Killer's Blading and execute? My ultimate's up on my back bar. I have a potion up. So to use incap, then potion. Like, there's so many things going on to take care of that the Stam Nightblade has a massive ceiling. Like, it's just, there is no ceiling when it comes to Stam Nightblade. You just keep getting better and better as the more you play it, the more you understand it. And that's why it's so fun to play, because it has all these rewarding skills. So we're going to do a quick, brief overview, the best I can, to kind of give you an idea. So the back bar is going to be pretty much the same. We're going to be doing Trap, Hail, Injection, Caltrop, Swap, and then Leeching Strikes whenever it's down. See, I don't see it on my right-hand screen. I'm going to do Leeching Strikes. And then we're going to use Incap, then Swap bars. Basically, when you have Relentless Focus up, and you're doing your back bar like this, you're always going to get a bow proc on your front bar very quickly, depending on if you need to do a light attack leeching or a light attack and cap, then come back to the front bar. So you always want to shoot your bow proc right before you go to the back bar. So let's just do it for example. So I get a bow proc, I go to my back bar, I'm doing my back bar, right? I come to my front bar, and then boom, another bow proc. And you just keep doing your rotation over and over. Get those bow procs. Shoot them as best you can. I usually only get 2. I'm sure that better Nightblades could get 3, but 2 seems to be just as effective. You know, without having to worry about bow procs and stuff like that. Just shoot them as best you can. Being aware of them is extremely hard. Let's take a look. So basically, we'll just do our back bar. Like light attacks between everything, get those bow procs. Come to our front bar, shoot our bow if we have to. Raining slashes. Then you're just going to do light attacks and surprise attacks, just like that. Then you're going to do a light attack float, swap, and then just back bar again. Where it gets complicated is keeping Relentless Focus up and knowing when to apply it and knowing when to shoot your bow proc, and going to your back bar and using your ultimate. That's where it gets really tricky, right? So let's say I'm on my front bar. I'm on my front bar. I have my bow proc and my ult up. I'll go to my back bar, shoot this, take a potion, and shoot my bow. That's where it gets really tricky, right? Because you want to use a potion to gain 20 ultimate. You want to use Incap so that you gain the 20% damage from it and Major Slayer, then shoot your bow proc. That will make it hit extremely hard. So you just got to be conscious and aware of what's all going on here. Right there, I should have went to the back bar, right? And just like that. And I'm on my front bar. I see that my ult's about to be up. See, there's not really a rotation when you get crazy with it. And then it gets even worse once you get to 25%. It gets a little either very easy or it either gets simple or very complicated. What I like to do is try and keep it as simple as possible. So if I'm doing a fight where I don't need Deadly Cloak to survive, I'll actually just drop it and execute. I'll also drop Raining Slashes and execute. The reason for that is because Killer's Blade is hitting so hard. It's hitting so hard as I execute. And I want to keep going with the bow procs, keep going with the end cap, the potion. And so execute looks a little bit like this. Let's get this guy to 25. We're just gonna get him to 25 real quick. Alright, so it's going to 25. I'm gonna do my back bar right. Come to my front bar. And I'm just going to shoot my bow proc and do Killer's Blade. Just like this. And then keep doing... Man, he didn't have a lot of health. Basically, you're just going to be Killer's Blading instead of doing Deadly Cloak and Raining Slashes. If you need Deadly Cloak to survive, just do it right before you swap back to your back bar. So like this. Just your bow proc. Back bar needs to be reapplied. Just like this. Just like that. So you need to be conscious of your back bar end cap. I know it's extremely hard to understand what I'm saying. Like, it's just a lot to take in, right? You need to be aware of your end cap, you need to be aware of your potion, and you need to keep up Leeching Strikes and Relentless Focus and shoot your bow proc as soon as you get it. Or if you have an ultimate up, you can go back bar and then shoot your bow proc and then use your potion. It's like, it's a lot to take in, guys, and I know it is. And I know I probably didn't give you the answers you wanted to hear, but straightforward. But this will make you a better player as long as you keep focused on what's important and how to get better and stuff like that. Sure, you could sit here and just do basic gold. I'm just gonna do the same thing over and over, but like, you're here to get better. You're here to watch this video and to get better. So I'm telling you the things that'll make you better. So guys, hopefully I explained it somewhat of what you wanted to hear. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm sure there's gonna be tons of questions on this boy right here. But just watch the DPS spars, see how crazy it can get, and see how rewarding it is to play at that pace rather than the normal, dirty, nasty Stamplar pace where you just do the same thing. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, guys, take care. Have a good day. Hopefully I see you in the next video.